Business leaders from Oklahoma fly into D.C. Hi, I'm Chris Casteel in the Washington Bureau of the Oklahoman, and I'm here with Fred Morgan, President and CEO of the State Chamber. Mr. Morgan, thanks so much for coming in. It's the State Chamber's annual D.C. fly-in. I've spent the last couple of mornings with you here in D.C., and one thing that I've gathered is that members of the State Chamber, Oklahoma business leaders, don't seem to be too happy with what's been going on, and they're anxious about what's been going on, how it's going to affect them, because a lot of what has been passed up here, whether it's healthcare reform, financial regulatory reform, hasn't really been implemented yet. So there seems to be a lot of anxiety about it and lots of questions about it.
Absolutely. There's a lot of concern about some of the key issues that are going through being considered by our federal government now that our members are very concerned about. The moratorium on drilling, obviously energy is an important concern to Oklahoma businesses, the death tax and restructuring of the tax code, plus not to mention the health care bill itself and how it's going to be implemented and what it's going to cost. All of these things are concerns, and even some things that, such things as some of the trade treaties that have not been approved. And obviously some of our agricultural members believe that that's very important to their livelihood.
Yeah, this morning you heard from most of the members of the Oklahoma congressional delegation, and they seem to be promising better times ahead. They're hoping for Republican pickups, and they stopped short of promising repeal of anything. They don't know that they could get that through with a Democratic administration still in place. But what are the hopes of business people in Oklahoma in terms of whether, if there is either a party shift or just kind of a change in the environment up here? Are you hoping for repeal? I know you're hoping for action on the taxes later this year, but what about stuff that's already been passed?
Well, there are a couple of things. I mean, one, we have heard while we were here the uncertainty of the whole situation. We don't know how much health care is going to cost us. We don't know if there are going to be new regulations that we have to comply with to operate our businesses. All of those things can result in higher costs. I think getting some certainty to that's going to be helpful no matter which party wins in November. We have gotten, while we've been here, we've had a political expert come in and give us an update on what the political realities may look like after November and what that may mean in terms of policy as well.
Right. Now, Congressman Lucas said something today that about he believes that from talking to people, business people in his district, that the recovery is being slowed by things like health care and financial regulatory reform. Do you feel that way? I mean, do you feel like there's a trepidation on business' part to hire, expand, because they don't really know what the effect of some of these things are going to be?
Absolutely. I mean, we heard from Marty Regalia at the U.S. Chamber talking about this. The recovery that's going on right now may be one of the slowest ever coming out of a recession. And part of that is because businesses are accumulating a lot of cash, afraid to spend it because consumer demand is still low, but more importantly, the uncertainty of what their expenses are going to be to produce products. And so, yes, I think that's a real concern.
Now, there are some big businesses represented here today, but what percentage of the State Chamber's members are actually small businesses?
Well, depending on what you use as your definition of small business, but I think under federal standards, probably about 95%. Under even our local standards, it's more than 80% of our members are small business.
Okay.
And Oklahoma is a small business state. There are very few corporations that are big companies that are headquartered in Oklahoma, so we're a small business state.
One of the more interesting kind of dialogues today between the lawmakers and members of the chamber was about earmarks. And I noticed on one of the State Chamber's priorities is to get a lot of this work that's being done on the Kerr-McClellan navigation system done, which obviously takes federal money, and Senator Jim Inhofe has been very helpful in getting federal money for that. But there's a lot of debate in Washington about earmarks. The House Republicans, as you know, decided not to request them this year, and Representative Tom Cole today said that's a mistake. I assume that the chamber feels like this is a way that these elected people can help with development back there, whether it's a road or whatever is needed, to bring federal money back home to help.
Right. You've mentioned some of the great examples. I mean, do we not want to tell the federal government where our representatives would like the money spent on a road? Well, of course we do. We want to know exactly where those roads are going to be built and that they're going to be funded by the federal government at whatever level that whatever our representatives can get for them to fund that. Another thing is the Kerr-McClellan infrastructure. It needs to be improved. Higher ed, all of those things, research. If we leave that to some bureaucrat in Washington to decide where the money's going to go, it may not even come to Oklahoma. We need to have those kinds, but it needs to be full disclosure of, and it needs to be vetted through the congressional process, and we're very supportive of that.
Right. Now, I know obviously the Chamber is a nonpartisan organization, non-political organization, but I mean, how do you guys view, how do you feel like the delegation is doing?
Oh, we think they're doing a great job, and it's not a partisan issue for us. For us, it's who is going to be supportive of Oklahoma business. And Dan Boren is a great friend to the State Chamber. He's a Democrat. We feel very comfortable with the positions that our elected officials have taken, both at the Senate and in the House. And so we think they're great friends to Oklahoma businesses. Many times chambers are called upon to write letters to their congressmen to do the right thing for business. We really don't have that problem in Oklahoma. They know what the right thing to do for business is.
What do you feel like, what's the secret to getting Oklahoma's economy moving again? I know that we've got unemployment right around 7%, I guess, which is less than the nation as a whole, but still we're struggling somewhat ourselves. What's the secret, do you think?
Well, there's some encouraging signs. I mean, the state revenues have started picking up. We we may have peaked as far as unemployment goes. Again, it's almost a national problem. Oklahoma's economy has fared much better than many of the other states, and we haven't been involved in the real estate speculation.
Right.
We haven't been involved in pension. We do have some pension fund issues that we need to take care of, but our economy is actually fairly strong, but we're waiting for this recession to end and so we can come out of it. But obviously creating jobs for everyone is very important.
Right. Well, Mr. Morgan, thanks so much for coming in.
Well, thank you for having me.
Trip.
Thank you.
And look for more on this in the Oklahoman and on newsok.com.